Engage Vernon.
I'm your new wingman.
We will win because we have.
Welcome to CommLink.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the CommLink Podcast. I'm Stub, and as always, I'm joined by Sylvius. How's it going, buddy?
Hey, doing good.
And today we have our very special guest, Mr. SeanVoneGone.
Gentlemen, hello. Good to have you.
Yeah, absolutely. How's it going, man?
I'm doing great. It's good to see you guys. Thanks for having me. I don't get to do these things often, so it's always fun to do them. And I love you guys, both of you.
Yeah.
So
love you too.
dude. Anytime to hang out with you guys, I'm always down.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun.
What do you do for content creation, Sean? Lately the focus has been a lot on variety and fighting my ISP. So, but we lately have been doing a lot of Tarkov, and the finals has been in rotation. We really just kind of, I feel like, focus on like gaming and I guess you could kind of say what's hot or, kind of the latest in releases, at least some of them. We don't do all of them, but mainly focused on shooters, survivals, games with either a really competitive edge or a narrative arc, DayZ, Tarkov, things like that.
Yeah, you play a pretty wide variety of games, I feel like.
Yeah, I'll be honest, it's kind of just whatever I'm feeling, and I feel like could be good. Some things flop, some things are, better, but it's all part of the process, and I just like streaming and enjoy what I do.
And so you don't play Star Citizen anymore right now, right?
No, I haven't played Star Citizen. It's probably been 2 years at this point. I haven't touched it.
Is it
Actually,
even installed?
If I were being honest, I officially uninstalled it like 2 months ago, just because I was like going through stuff and cleaning out, and I was like, I haven't played this or the PTU. So it wasn't personal, but yeah, it's not even on the computer anymore.
Not necessarily a spiteful uninstall, just some spring cleaning early.
It's never like, I'm sure, you guys have your questions and stuff, but the game, I love what they're trying to do, but it's just not for current state, isn't for me at the moment, but
yeah,
so we'll get into that a little deeper. Yeah.
Let's maybe start with, I guess your introduction to Star Citizen. Like, how did the project first get on your radar?
Okay, so I mean, we got to go not way back. Oh, geez, man, it's 2024 now, so
yeah.
it maybe is considered way back, but I forget the year. But I have some IRL friends that, when I was new to PC, we were gaming a lot together, and they were showing me, recommending me games, blah blah blah. I was still like in my learning, taking it all in phase,
Right.
And one of the games they put on my radar was Star Citizen, and I had heard about it because another friend of mine, this was back like in 2012 or whatever, when they were kind of announcing the Kickstarter, and that's when he told me about it, and he was like, look at the fucking, I remember, I'll never forget this because he sent me a picture and he goes, look at the fibers in the gloves, dude. You can see the fibers in the gloves. And I was like, oh shit, you can. But I was like, oh, whatever. I don't see any gameplay. So
yeah,
other than that conversation we had, and he was like, you can like trade and all this stuff, whatever. Then years later, I actually saw gameplay of it, and my buddy showed me his Constellation Andromeda, right? That's
Connie Andromeda. Yep.
See, it's been that long. The Connie Andromeda, and like the fucking missile racks and the bay doors opening, and I was like, oh my god, this is crazy. And that's kind of what I think sold me. And funny enough, he was like, dude, you should stream this game, because I had been streaming, but I had been doing like the like the PUBGs and Battlefield, I think was a game where I tried streaming often. Streaming's always been a process for me because I'm technically a nobody. So I've always tried to just, build what we have around kind of like camaraderie, I guess, or friendship, and like really we just focus on gaming. And so he recommended that I try that game, and that's kind of how I started meeting people in the community. The first being TV Liquid, and he rated me, and that's kind of what like started like, oh hey, maybe we should stream this game more because I'm having fun, and the people are enjoying it. So like, why not? And yeah, the rest was more or less history.
Yeah.
In terms of streaming Star Citizen.
So at that point, right, that's when, or shortly thereafter, you, Sylvius, I think, encounter Sean streaming at some point, click on him and start watching him. And it's not until then then Sean has recommended to me. So then we were both watching your Star Citizen content. And man, they were really good vibes. Like your stream was, oh gosh, this is going to sound bad towards other people, and I don't mean it that way whatsoever. But your Star Citizen streams were the first ones I watched where the stream itself was fun. You know what I mean? Like it didn't even really matter that you were playing Star Citizen, but there was just such an energy about it. Dude, like the dances would go off, right? You had the sound clips ready to go, like, and watching you stream Star Citizen was really kind of what kind of refueled a lot of my interest in the game in a weird way. Because I first bagged like 2014 Hangar Module days, right? But I wasn't checking in with the game very often because there wasn't a whole lot of shit to do then. Like when I first got, literally, you could look at your ship in the hangar, and that was it. You could walk around the hangar. There was no gameplay.
I've heard about those days, yeah.
Yeah. And then they would add ArcCorp, and I'd check that out, and I'd get 3 frames per second and be like, well, this seems like it's going to be neat someday. I'll check again later in 6 months or 12 months or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, there was just something about your vibes where like that's what first really got me interested, I think, in the Star Citizen Twitch community in general. With SeanVonGone.
That's cool, dude. That means a lot, actually, and I'm glad that was somewhat of a catalyst for you.
Yeah, and no disrespect to anybody else. Like, I'm not trying to put anybody else down, but
fuck them. All the disrespect. Yeah. Oh, are we supposed to not cuss?
No, you can cuss.
Okay. Yeah, but that was a joke, regardless. Yeah, our stream vibe is definitely different these days from those days. I think that's a lot of things. I mean, you just kind of change as a person. Everybody does as you get older, and back then, I don't know, dude. It's like I hate to say it, but it's almost like I had the energy for it.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's like, oh, sorry, I just got a Windows notification. I don't know. Then it just got old for me to do. You see this a lot in streaming and in every category. Very few people stick to one thing and one thing only. And like the ones that do always end up hating it, whatever that thing is. They hate it, and they talk the most shit on it, and they criticize it.
Mm-hmm.
And whether or not they actually love it is, I think, could be a case by case basis, but their outward portrayal, or like, their public shared thoughts typically are very negative on whatever it is that they do. And that's not necessarily how it got for me, is what I'm saying. Like, not at all, but I just didn't want to dance anymore,
Yeah.
I mean, I love dancing. I'm still a dancer, and like, but also things just changed with like the setup and stuff. And it was just, in terms of like space, it wasn't becoming as viable.
Well, when it comes to things like the dancing, is it part of the thinking, like it starts to become something like this expected on cue, and that gets tired and old.
A little bit.
Then
it's like a,
like
dance monkey for your money type thing. And while I didn't necessarily feel explicitly like that, I mean, there was definitely like vibes, and it wasn't like chat's fault. It wasn't a viewer specifically.
yeah.
That it's just comes, I think, with the territory and maybe just who I am as a streamer and content creator. And
Yeah.
like, yeah. So I mean, the vibes from then till today are have changed. And I, you know, some people don't come to the stream at all anymore, and that's totally fine. You know, it's just some people don't even watch streams anymore. Like some people stay, some people are part of it and they understand it, and some people are just here to enjoy it while they can, while they move on to another facet of their life or, you know,
Right.
another focus. Sometimes it's forced, sometimes they choose it. But yeah, I liken it to almost like a maturing of the channel. I mean, I'm still a very immature individual, but I am a father. I'm going to be 32 or 3 this year. And so, you know, things just change and the content world has changed too.
Yeah,
And that's always changing.
Definitely.
And people get their rocks off on, you know, you got to always change with the times. And I don't know if I'm that kind of character anymore or that beast. I don't know if I got that dog in me.
Mhm.
I enjoy making content, but I enjoy making like what I like to make. I don't want to force myself into some kind of mold. And that's ultimately kind of where I felt I was going with Star Citizen.
Yeah.
Because people, number one, mostly only showed up for giveaways. And so I was like, I never wanted to use that as a crutch. And that's not necessarily a Star Citizen specific thing, but
Right.
it's as you watch any channel in the category and you quickly understand that it is a very common thing. And it really doesn't, it benefits the streamers and CIG. So it's perfect, really. Win-win for
Mhm.
everybody. I just didn't want my content that way. And of course, you have like your special apples within the category that don't, you know, they don't leverage giveaways as much as others. And there's nothing wrong with leveraging giveaways either. Like that's
by
your
the way-
content, that's your stream, you know?
By the
Like,
way, everybody, don't forget at CommLink Pod on Twitter, you can get your Cutter Rambler with lifetime insurance in our giveaway. Make sure to like the post, repost, and to follow the account, and you're in. Giveaway happens when we hit 100 followers. Cheers.
hey, yeah, and get that giveaway. But you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
100%.
it's- Yeah, like you know,
Well, I
probably
mean,
a little
even-
brain dead on my part, but you know what I mean.
Even in what I just said, though, like about our giveaway, the giveaway happens when we hit 100 followers. Like everybody knows what it is, right? The hope is that while people are checking out the giveaway, that they'll also check out the content and like it. You know, you're bringing in people that are attracted to this very specific niche thing. Like nobody outside of Star Citizen is going to care about a Cutter Rambler package, right? So, you know, you're just trying to bring in that niche audience as much as you can and hope that it gets more eyeballs on. But it is what it's
100%.
definitely a marketing thing. You know, it's a promotion thing for sure.
I think what I'm trying to get at is when a tool versus a crutch, you know?
Yeah. Because some people
and-
get to the point where that's all people are showing up for.
Exactly. And
It's
I
just
guess
that-
that was my main point.
Yeah.
You
And,
don't wanna be there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's where I felt like it's like during my time to Star Citizen, like you know, I got to get or you know, play with Liquid or like, you know, collaborate with him, which is a weird word to say, but you know, basically we formed our little stream team and it was me, Liquid, Chody, and Maddie LaRusso, and we like we just like to have fun. It really didn't matter what we did.
Yeah.
But you know, it just at the end of the day, it was the game sucked. And not like the game like what they're trying to do or it looks bad, it just feels bad.
Well,
And it
you
wore on
mentioned
me time and time again.
you mentioned streamers getting burnout and hating a single game, and you know, Star Citizen is even harder to make your main game sometimes when you're trying to create content, and sometimes it's just like hitting your head against a wall when you're trying to play it because there's so many things that can go wrong, and I think that might compound the issue.
100%. it definitely did not help things. And when setup requires multiple hours for a fucking death match on a moon.
Yeah.
And then you do all this setup, you sit there on your ass for 45 minutes, move 2 feet, and then sit there for another 30 minutes. And then the event finally starts and people are micro teleporting 10 feet away, and then you die. And then this org, we're victorious. It's like, it wasn't fun to be a part of. It wasn't fun to play. It wasn't like it. None of it was fun, but okay, sure. We had a fight on the surface of the moon. You know where I'm getting at saying all that? Like the juice wasn't worth the squeeze.
Right.
And half the time the server crashes and then you always get those people that are like, well, the servers are better these days. And it's like, dude, are they?
Sometimes, but usually not.
It's like the weather, right? It's and there's just so many we have such a limited time to game, everybody. And sometimes I mean that in the macro sense, and sometimes I mean that in like the micro sense, your day to day. Like some people only get an hour or two to game. And I couldn't justify to myself wasting my time playing that game, playing Star Citizen in its current state, because when you think you're playing with your friends, you're just sitting there waiting for the game to break with your friends. And then somebody's bugged. One person's bugged and you're like in a group, then they're left out, and then they got to sit out, figure out what's wrong, or you stop the whole event, whatever, depends on the size of event, etc.
We've all been there.
And then, yeah, so it's like, it just wasn't worth it for me, man. I was like, dude, there's so many other like things I could play and be doing and invest my like gaming time into and get just better enjoyment out of it. And that was, and this is like a hindsight, kind of looking back on the whole journey type of thing. Because I'm not someone that's like, F Star Citizen, dude, they're scam artists. I think there's some stuff like that's kind of shady, but I don't believe that they like legitimately set out to like steal people's money and rip people off. But, yeah, so I'm rambling at this point.
No,
So
but it sounds like it's just a matter of how enjoyable the game is for you right now.
Is that not what any game is about?
Yeah.
It's all about the enjoyment. And if you enjoy flying around in space, taking sick like screenshots, then hell yeah, dude, Star Citizen's the game for you. I probably get like 2 hours of enjoyment out of that, personally, me as a gamer. And then I'm like, okay, like it's enjoyable to do, but it's shallow, right? What else? Take pictures of this and take pictures of that. But when it comes to like the nitty gritty, like PvP, player interaction, that shit's all borked. It runs so bad.
TV Liquid's
just unenjoyable for me personally.
TV Liquid's the only one of the 08s that still plays, right?
Chody plays from time to time, but Liquid is the only one that plays. But for the record, he only plays on stream. So it's not a game he even plays offline, which is honestly a pretty common thing, I understand, for streamers to do. But
yeah,
I think it's a telling sign.
Yeah, I can see it not always, if it's a game that you're truly enjoying playing while you're streaming, I can see not always playing it on your off stream time, but you would think if you're really liking it.
Yeah, that might be a bad example because like people are different, and some people like don't want to burn themselves out, and some people, and this is probably the type of people that I am, I like to just consume myself. Like when I want to learn a game, like I like study it like a fucking craft, and that's just the kind of gamer or kind of person I am.
Yeah, when I
find a good story, I like to learn all about the story. Or true story, or like just recently I watched a thing about like one of the craziest bank robberies in history, in like LA history. And it was wild, but yeah.
So you're studying to go rob a bank is what I'm hearing.
I mean, I can't legally answer that question, but
I'll have to talk off the air.
Is there? So we know you've kind of stepped away from the game because of, it's sometimes it's more of a chore to play than it is fun. Is there anything? Obviously, if the game gets into a place where it's playable, would that bring you back, or would they have to add, a little more meat to the bones?
I mean, definitely more. No, I mean that's meat. I mean that I get the. It's a hard. Because I mean, technically, I guess there's meat on the bones. You can go do this and that, but I mean, to quote the famous Jeff Goldblum in the critically acclaimed early 90s movie Jurassic Park, he says something along the lines of, they were too busy figuring out how they could and didn't stop and think about if they should. And I feel like Star Citizen's almost kind of similar because they want to build this. And there we lost up. I'm serious. It's like they.
I understand completely. I've just never heard the Jurassic Park Star Citizen analogy, but it makes sense. I hear
perfect.
you. I hear you.
Yeah, it is.
I just wasn't ready for it.
They literally, a giant, life size or 1-to-1 universe simulator game where you can fly to the planets and there are no boundaries. There's no loading screens. Okay, there's no loading screens, but have you sat in Quantum for 20 minutes and really enjoyed yourself? Yeah, I can go make a fucking snack. It's like, okay. At least in Tarkov, like when you are in your downtime, you have your inventory to manage. You have your, there's the player market eventually. There's things to do in that downtime. I think that's another thing about, or at least for me, about Star Citizen is the downtime is, it's frequent. And it's abysmally it's horrible because you just sit there and do nothing except for stare at your $300 JPEG.
Yeah. Like
They're
if you're flying
beautiful.
with a buddy, you can you can goof around with your buddy some, but if you're a solo pilot, you got nothing.
You
to
get
do
out
but
of
just...
here's the thing, you get out of your seat during Quantum, you're already at risk of falling out and dying. And you guys nobody can legitimately sit here and tell me that that's not true because it is true.
There's probably one guy on Facebook somewhere that's never had that issue before.
Runs on my, that's a running joke with the 08s. We go, runs on my machine. It's kind of like the actually guy.
Yep.
Because, someone always complains about performance in Star Citizen, and there's always that one motherfucker in chat. Well, I've got a 2060 and a fucking i3, and I get, it's like, bro, runs on my machine. Dude, that's another thing. The barrier of entry for Star Citizen is also crazy. And this is maybe where, like, I don't know. I feel like maybe some people in Star Citizen get a kick off of, like, gatekeeping it from the rest of the gaming community. Kind of like a hipster's, like, favorite band type shit.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, it's like the price to fully enjoy the game is beyond typical teenagers, spending limits or, and I'm just talking about the generic kind of middle class kid that got, he ain't rich, he ain't poor, but nobody's buying him a $4,000 computer and $300 ships to fly. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Adults have that money. People with jobs and responsibilities have that money and spend that money. And that's where, like, a lot of the player base, that's kind of one of the refreshing things, I guess, about Star Citizen was you get a lot more, typically, not all the time, mature, like, player base. You're not playing Call of Duty where you got some mouth breathing kid on his Xbox mic calling you every slur that's ever existed.
Right.
Usually, but toxicity, make no mistake, exists in every game. No game is immune to it. But typically with the older player bases, you have less of it because it kind of just gets policed by its own, or people just, those kind of people aren't interested in games like this.
Right.
Typically.
Yeah, the Star Citizen community is a little more mature than most games, I think. Just probably because of that barrier of entry you're talking about.
I mean, just anecdotally, just on our little YouTube channel, like 100% of the audience watching our videos, it's like 25 and older.
Yeah.
Like 100% of the people, mid-20s and older.
Yeah, and I think too, it's just the subject matter of the game. You know, it's like spaceships. This game is for flight sim enthusiasts. You know, people who like to fly, people who buy $700 joysticks. You know, that's what this game is for. So, you know, usually that's not the most popular genre of game. That's just the truth. And you know, yeah, I'll that's where I'll end my statement on that one.
Okay, so let me ask you this: how much of the recent updates for Star Citizen over the past couple years do you think you've heard about? Like, I mean, surely at least in passing, like people are still mentioning things in the Discord or something.
Salvage, you can salvage. That's the only thing I know.
Okay, all right. So did you hear about Squadron 42?
Oh yeah, and I heard about them. The devs are supposedly done feature complete Squadron 42. So now they're working on PU stuff. But what does that mean? Because aren't there supposed to be 3 chapters for Squadron 42?
I believe so. That sounds right.
So is chapter 1 done? Is the whole thing done?
Well, I thought the way they were talking chapters, like the chapters would be like either sequel games or expansions to like the initial Squadron 42 chapter 1 release, which is supposed to be something crazy like 50 missions or what. We just did our last episode was going over the original stretch goals that they had up to like the $65 million mark, but it was like, I forget what the numbers were, but it was like from 2 million to 65 mil the stretch goals went. And there were multiple goals where like, hey, if we hit this much, we'll add another 5 missions to Squadron 42 or another 10 missions to Squadron 42. And like, I think it hit like 50 total or whatever. So, you know, who knows what they're considering to be a mission or a level, right? Like some of those could be really quick, couple minute little gameplay moments. But yeah, I took the chapters as them being like the length of a full length game, like each chapter. But I don't know.
No, it's anybody's guess. And I mean, you know, we all know how trustworthy and reliable they are with the things they say.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing too. Like, I think the it's not so recent these days, but relatively recent in the grand scheme of the timeline of Star Citizen. The Banu Merchantman getting shelved, I think, was just one of the things that made me go like, yeah, that's kind of why I'm not supporting the project right now. Because, you know, I don't know. It's just another thing on top of the list. And people will tell you, well, this is game dev. This is game dev. And it's probably true. Mm-hmm. I'm no game dev and I have no experience in game dev. I just have a lot of hours in games. But, you know, that it kind of almost circles back to the whole, like, did they ever stop and think, like, if this is, like, what they should be doing? Because they don't even really know if they can do it. And what happens when they get to a point where it's like, are they just going to keep endlessly selling ships, you know? Like, yeah, they will, right? To support the project, but...
Yeah.
So are you looking forward to Squadron 42? Or you think you'll play it? No?
I will play it because I own it, technically, so, but I've never signed up for the Star Citizen experience for Squadron 42.
Yeah, and that's a shared sentiment with a lot of the community. You hear that a lot. People don't really care all that much about Squadron. And a lot of the people... I should back that up. There are definitely people that just straight up don't care about Squadron 42. I think there's also people that care about Squadron 42, but only in the sense of they just want that thing done so that devs can move back to PU, right? And then the final segment of people, they are legitimately interested in the game. And I think I'm one of those people. I do want to play Squadron 42 and see what they've been cooking up for the past decade.
It could
plus.
be revolutionary, dude.
Yeah.
It really, I mean, but I just feel like, how long are we going to be, are they going to be touting how beautiful of a game it is, you know? Even the recent, like, you know, reveal of what they've been working on with all that shit, like, to me, just was like, okay, it looks good, but, you know, you got Unreal Engine 5 and other, like, engines that are coming out that just could put that shit to shame, you know? And luckily, CIG has a lot of really talented designers and artists working for them because, you know, a lot of what I like about Star Citizen is the obviously all like the different ship manufacturers, clothing brands, whatever it is, right? And they're all like really designed cool and have their unique flair. But dude, it's like, how many armor sets are in the fucking game now?
Not
and
enough.
They just keep piling them on. Yeah, not enough. But you know, it dilutes any kind of value any of those armor sets are going to have, especially when you hold events to get this armor, and then a year later you just end up selling it. Like, it sounds probably weird to some people, but you devalue your in-game items.
Yeah.
The reason why people start screaming when they find a GPU in Tarkov, because it's fucking hard to find, or a LEDX, or there's plenty of other items too. DayZ, there's a reason people go for hours to get M4s and plate carriers, and I don't know what the top guns are anymore in that game, but in Star Citizen, it's like there's no. Do you know where I'm kind of going with that? Like, what do you find? And you're like, oh, I found a Pico ball. Okay, what are you gonna do with the Pico ball?
Yeah, the biggest
look at it in your inventory.
Biggest thing about CIG that bothers me is their marketing. Kind of like you were talking about, they'd say, "Oh, hey, we're gonna release this exclusive item," and then they sell it a year later. Or we all know how the F8C just went down and stuff. And
marketing is probably one of the worst offenders of their fucking career, because
I would argue maybe
I see
the
YouTube
worst.
videos all the time. Playable now, Star Citizen 3.702, whatever the fuck they're on now. It's like what they show is not what you experience. Like, nobody can tell me that they log in to play Star Citizen and experience what any of that trailer shows as it's shown.
Yeah. The wording they use
What's
is
like, you cannot fool me.
What's the running joke? The marketing team's playing the finished game, right? Because that's not what we have, what they show you in those videos.
Yeah. And, you know, if Star Citizen, like, everyone's always like, server meshing is going to fix this. Is it, though? What happens if it doesn't? Right. And Star Citizen has the track record to be like, I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't work. And we're still, like, everything still just doesn't work.
Well, Sean, if it doesn't work, then we spend another 3 or 4 years developing a new piece of tech that's going to solve the problem.
Yeah, and honestly, you're probably right. If they're committed, you know, and they don't end up selling what they have to some other company, it could just be one of those things where it's like in a permanent state of just what we have now.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't want to. It's so easy to go doom and gloom on Star Citizen, right? And I simply just want to share my experience and my thoughts. It's not like, you know, that's just my experience as the kind of gamer I am. And everybody's a different kind of gamer. Everyone has different tastes and what they play games and what they look for. So, you know, this is just one person on the internet. And I like, if you have people that watch or listen and you know, they are on the fence, I definitely don't want to, like, it's definitely something people should experience if they can. I don't think people should go out and buy $4,000 computers just to play this game.
No.
But, you know, what they are trying to do is definitely noteworthy, but, you know, whether they can actually pull it off is yet to be seen, in my opinion. Because then not only, I mean, I hate to derail it a little bit, but along that line of thought, it's like, there are so many things that they say you're going to be able to do in Star Citizen. And you already see this discourse with like pirates, what's pirating, what's griefing, PvP, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, do you really want those gamers in the same sandbox? Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't put an Animal Crossing person with a Valorant player, or, you know, a Counter-Strike dude with someone who's a farming simulator guy. You don't, those people don't mix in terms of like game sandboxes, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because they both want different things. Someone wants to kill you, another guy just wants to farm his fucking crops.
Well, the thinking is, and full disclaimer, this does nothing for people in game right now. But the thinking is that eventually, once more systems come online, right,
I
you'll have
love that
different levels
argument.
of security. Yeah, that's what you hear, right?
Yeah.
And I do think that that's going to be their sincere attempt at sort of segmenting off different player types, almost like, hey, if you want to do like just casual space trucking or whatever, not really be bothered with, well, you're going to probably do most of your gameplay sessions over in the Terra system, and maybe you're not going to make as much, but you're also not going to get blown up by, you know, some pirates or whatever. If you're somebody that just wants to fucking just go claws out and just PvP constant, well, that's going to be Pyro for you, right? And if you're somebody in between, Stanton and et cetera, but will that actually work?
I don't think so, because you're going to have the people who just want to go kill people to kill people. The ones that the people on Spectrum deem psychopaths.
Yeah.
Like, they just kill people to kill people, because in a game you can kill people. Like, if you can do it in a game, players will do it. It's just the truth. Somebody will do it.
Yeah.
Like, there's people, like, I don't know how true this is, but people talk about how, like, oh my God, Pal World, this new trending Pal World game, you can't, or you kill the animals, I just can't be a part of it. It's like, okay, there's literally millions of people that will gladly kill the pals and eat them and laugh about it. So, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, that's maybe that's a crackhead theory of mine, but I do think that the mixing of the sandbox and the different types of players, you're talking about systems too. I do not see a world where we have, like, you know, I think it's going to be Stanton and Pyro in the near future. That's all we're going to have. We don't even have a jump gate. It's like you just spawn in Pyro. And they touted jump gates how long ago?
But Sean,
throw them up there with the sandworms, you know?
What about all the systems they've developed for Squadron 42 that are going to come online once the star jump works?
Dude, when I see them, I'll be happy. I'll be stoked as fuck. Like, I don't hope for this game to fail, you know? And I feel like a lot of Star Citizen refund personality people online are those kind of people who want the game to fail. I just want, you know, what they are trying to make. And if they can do it, that's great, dude. If it happens in 10 years, then hell yeah. I got a good, like, little arsenal of ships I can probably have fun in the game with. I just don't, because there's a part of me that thinks that what they have created has kind of grown out of their control. They've just made this giant cash churning machine. And now they have, like, people that they need to feed and careers that they have to pay for. And they can't do that without obviously making more ships and continuing the development of the game. So,
now, I could be wrong, but I think they were in a deficit this year. Like, they didn't make any profit on the game, right? They had their financial
from that
report.
CIG financial report. Yeah.
Is that why I've heard reports of people getting a lot more ship sales emails and shit?
Probably, yeah.
They've been going pretty heavy with the ship sales stuff too. Like, most recently, they announced, like, the in case you missed it or whatever, sell, like, all the new vehicles from 2023 back on the pledge store. Go buy. So and then, you know, bringing the F8 back, like you mentioned, again, bringing the F8 back. It seems like they are definitely trying to generate some revenue right now for sure.
Because it's, I mean, what happens if the players stop buying ships?
Yeah, I think that's probably why we're going to see a big push for Squadron 42 this next year, I think. They got to sell some units of that and get some cash flow coming in.
Yeah,
curiously
it's just,
enough,
is it gonna sell though as good as like they're predicting? Because how do you put out a game like that? Like,
And it's also probably going to be competing with GTA 6.
yeah. Which I mean,
Uh,
different kinds of games, but it's fucking GTA 6. You know what I mean? Everybody's going to be talking about GTA. A shit ton of people are going to be playing it. Like, even if you're in a different genre, like you don't want to go head to head with that.
at the end of the day, I don't think that Star Citizen is even gonna hit mainstream like numbers. I just don't.
Yeah.
Squadron 42 or Star Citizen. Maybe Star
Yeah.
Citizen. I don't know though, because that's just like I only speak from like my taste, and I don't know. It's like time will tell, right?
Right.
I mean,
Time will
at
tell.
the end of the day, it's still a niche game. Like you said, it's, for people that like mainly flight simulators, space games, and even some people that like space games aren't going to get into it because of how tedious it can be sometimes.
And just janky. Yeah.
Well, the game
Yeah.
that we get then it could be completely different than the game that we have now,
Right.
So
Yeah, we've been
That's the
talking
thing.
about this whole next year. It could almost, if they deliver on the stuff they're promising, it could play like a different game by this time next year. But
Yeah.
that remains to be seen.
yeah, it seems like a lot of CIG people are definitely talking about how this is going to be a big year. So
Well, Jared definitely went way out of his way to do that on I think it was the last ISC of 2023. And then I don't know if you saw this or not, Sean, but in the This Week in Star Citizen post, they made an announcement to some programming changes or like scheduling changes for both ISC and Star Citizen Live. So if you guys don't mind, I'm gonna read this bit real quick because it's telling, I think, of how confident at least Jared's team of people are feeling about how stuff's going right now. Let's see. Yeah, while we're still going to be releasing on Thursdays and broadcasting live on Fridays, we are no longer going to be programming on the standard quarterly cadence we've used since ISC began, which has been a pretty rigid 10 weeks on, 3 weeks off, rinse and repeat sort of affair. In this new year of exciting challenges and anticipated releases, once ISC comes back on February 1st, it will continue to run until 3.23 comes out, however many weeks that may be. We'll then take a week or two off and come right back with the ongoing cadence until the next major patch comes out, and so on and so on. What this means for you is that we'll no longer be cutting away to our hiatuses a week or two before the patch releases like we've done in the past. There may be a week or two in the middle of a month where we don't publish broadcasts so that we can still take care of the important maintenance tasks, blah, 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 blah. But most importantly, the way our new schedule works out, it means there will now be more episodes of ISC produced this year than previously, covering more topics and more aspects of our lives and game development than ever before. Anyway, so it sounds like going forward, there's not going to be any radio silence from CIG, at least in terms of their YouTube content. I guess technically Twitch content as well. Until that major patch comes out, which is a way more aggressive sort of scheduling they've had before. So that, to me, that's just one more indication that
things could be different.
Things could actually maybe, and fuck, we say it every year with this game. And it's so frustrating.
See, and that's a big reason, like, there's nothing wrong with that, dude. Like, when I feel like the Star Citizen players get a bad rap because they're like hopeless romantics type thing, and maybe to some degree that's true, but at the end of the day, like, people just want this level of game and this level of detail. And in today's world, it takes big money to like make a game, and even bigger money to make a game that they're trying to make. And there's a reason like publishers have deadlines and stuff, because it takes a very long time and to make a game, and you have like, that's why when these AAA games that come out, they have a lot of like shiny bells and whistles, but I feel like a lot of the times they end up falling like shallow or short. They have like an explosion of popularity and a good solid player base, and then it's like they just kind of fizzle out. Yep. And you could argue that could be the true for like almost every video game, save like the Legends, like Counter-Strike's a game that's lasted years and years. games like fucking, what's that one that people play?
World of
It's
Warcraft.
old as shit. Yeah, WoW's WoW's
Yep.
another one. RuneScape. People, those games, some of those games have like just, in today's standards, horrible graphics, but it's not about the graphics. It's never about the graphics. And people who think it's
That's right.
about the graphics,
That's right.
I mean, this is just, again, my opinion, but it graphics are great. And maybe you are really into graphics and that's all you care about. That's cool too. But in my opinion, great game is just, it doesn't matter what kind of graphics. It doesn't matter almost even what you're doing in said game. Obviously there's like weird, like, anime porn type shit, but I'm talking for the general case here. It doesn't matter what you're doing. If the game is fun, has good mechanics, and tickles your brain in that right way, like, people are going to keep playing. And, you also have to add longevity. It's not easy. I would imagine it's not easy keeping a game alive and relevant for just years on end,
Star Citizen has those moments where it tickles your brain, but they're hard to find. And sometimes you can't get there when you want to because stuff gets in your way, the game doesn't work. But, we're all a little pessimistic because we've been stepped on too many times by CIG, but I'm trying to remain hopeful for this coming year. And I know we've been this whole episode a little down on Star Citizen, but I do want to, like, there are moments to be had, and the community is still one of my favorites to be a part of. And it's not all bad. There's still good times to be had, but hopefully this year, makes those brain tickle moments a little easier to achieve.
Yeah, man. And just in general, like not even just in the game itself, but in the general Star Citizen community, last year was a weird year. It was a very strange year because the 318 debacle happened that just completely broke the game for a ton of players to where they literally, Sean, like, I don't know if you heard about this, they literally could not log into the game.
I remember that.
For weeks.
I remember.
But then, yeah. But then, they eventually they get over that hurdle. 319 comes out. It's kind of okay, whatever. But 320 hits, and things start to feel different in the community, I think. But especially when CitizenCon happened in October, and we got the Squadron 42 news. We got, the Star Engine stuff that they showed off. Look at our shiny tech that we've spent over $600 million on. And, check out these different mechanics and everything else, all the features they showed. And 322 hit and felt pretty good for an end of the year patch. Because I'm sure you remember, usually things would be especially bad, like in wintertime in the game. Like, performance has never been great in Star Citizen, but whatever patch they leave us on around Christmas time tends to fucking suck performance wise. And this one's been a little bit better this year. So that was another thing of like, oh, maybe things are looking up. And now we're kind of in that lull where, like, we're still waiting for CIG to kind of wake back up from their winter slumber, their holiday slumber, and start to tell us some things again and get out 323. So it's weird. It's been a particular roller coaster of a year, I think 2023, that ended on a fairly high note. And now coming into this year, like, you can just, I don't know, man. I feel like I can sense that high dropping, and it's dropping at a pretty steady rate, because now we're getting almost to the end of January now. Yeah, at the time of recording, January 25th, and there's still not been any substantial announcement other than programming changes to the YouTube content.
Yeah, and I wish I had your optimism, but I expect nothing at this point from them, so I feel like, whatever that they can deliver on is just going to take me by surprise, and I'll gladly, lick up whatever salt or doubt I had when slash if, my expectations of this game and project and the future of it are proven wrong. Which, who knows? I would love to fly around and rob people and be all kinds of player interactions in space, but we'll see, dude. If they can do it, they can. And to point or to kind of also add to Sylvius's point about us harping on the game, I've met a lot of great people through the game.
Yeah.
So, it isn't all doom and gloom. And I said it a little earlier too. It's not a scam, by the definition of it. It's just, I think, a very ambitious project. And, if people are into like that, space sim, flight sim, or just they think the game looks pretty sweet and they want to give it a shot, I think it's definitely worth experiencing to some degree. And, I do hope that they can pull it off. But, I've personally been burned too many times. And at this point, it's like, all right, I will focus my attention and my efforts in terms of gaming on like other things, because it just, the current state is not it, in my opinion. But yeah,
That's one thing I like about your content community in particular is a lot of us came from Star Citizen and found you when you were playing Star Citizen, and still stick around for your streams today. And even though a lot of those people still don't play anymore, I can hop into your stream sometimes, and you'll harp on CIG or whatever, and some people jump in the chat and ban people talking about the game or whatever, just in fun, but we all kind of know the story of CIG at this point. And but yeah, I hope one day you and your community and all of us can have good times and tickle our brains in Star Citizen together.
Yeah, and that's a good point I think you brought up. Is like, I think it's like when you have gone through the cycle of like every Star Citizen player has like a cycle, and it starts with like amaze and shock and interest, and then you start playing it, and then you start playing it more, and then it's like, then it starts to turn into like, why haven't they fixed this? And then you start realizing that this has kind of been the state of the game, and then you either turn into like a neutral kind of guy, which maybe I am, maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm like more neutral, like negative in terms of outlook towards CIG and Star Citizen in general. But you become just a complete like Star Citizen refund person and hate the game, or like you're like a hopeless romantic, and you try and justify the CIG flaws in whatever way possible. And it's just when you have gone through it and you see others go through it, I think that evicts a certain response from others as well. And because you see people kind of just going through it. I've seen people that like started tweeting and they're like, yeah, dude, this game's fucking, I just ran into a pirate, blah, blah. And then like 3 months later, they're like, they still haven't fixed the scanning bug. And so it's like, like you said, we know the story, we know the history, and we'll see if they ever change. I'm a firm believer. Some people say like people never change, but I think people can change. And it's obviously not fair to call CIG in its entirety one person, but someone's calling the shots.
So that's a beautiful segue to a question I've wanted to ask you this whole episode. What are your thoughts on Chris Roberts? Like, we've been talking about CIG in general, but what about Papa Chris?
What about Papa Chris? What do you want? What am I supposed to say?
Well, so
man's after his bag, dude. Kudos to him. But Chris, Chris, cool guy, Chris.
But you think he's maybe over ambitious?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
But that's kind of been his MO, right?
Right. Yeah.
You know the band Guar, where
Yes.
they'll blood blast you in the crowd. I feel like at CitizenCon this year, Chris was Guar, and he was blasting the crowd full of copium.
Mm.
And we're starting to come down off that copium high.
But
And
that's
here
the
we
thing
are.
is like, if you pay attention, dude, it's the same thing every year. It's CitizenCon, whether it's virtual or real, comes up. Hype is just through the roof, and then it just fades out throughout the year. Oh, new patch where they added some tech that either they said they were, or sometimes they didn't even say they were. They're just like, hey, yo, fucking guess what? We just threw this in here. So, you know, just give us the game. They
That's
could
what we
literally
all want.
stop adding shit right now and just polish everything they have in this game, and I feel like it would just have hours and hours and hours of. Oh, I just turned my phone flash on accident. Fuck, flashbang.
We'll fix it in post.
Yeah, like polish what you have, because like I like, that's why I like games like DayZ, where like the player interactions, you feel like you're in this world, and like you, even if you're not role playing, the way you talk to other players in game, like, hey, you can eat that can of beans type shit. It's like you're like inadvertently role playing because of the game and how it's created. And Star Citizen has all that, but the pieces don't connect yet. Some of the pieces don't even fucking connect to anything.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's say you unintentionally roll up on somebody in DayZ, right? And obviously they're startled and they draw on you or whatever, and you're just like, whoa, no, friendly, I'm friendly. You can do that in DayZ all day long. Try doing that in Star Citizen, there's like a 95% chance they're not even going to hear the VoIP because it's broken.
Mm-hmm.
It's toggled off by default now, which is dumb. But even when you toggle it on, it's broken.
Yep. Yeah.
So yeah, you don't get that level of player interaction. Not
It's
as
also
not as
very
organically.
discouraging too. Like when we kind of talked about it a little bit before, but just like when bugs come back that were like, oh, I thought they fixed this, and it's like kind of a meme throughout the community, like, oh, they fixed it, but it's like demoralizing. Because like some of the bugs, some of them are like whatever, they're just annoying, but some of them are like game breaking or like spirit breaking, And when they come back, I just remember that was a big thing for me too. It's like, fuck, here we go again.
No other game like it, whether it's working or not.
True words.
Damn.
I've got nothing after that. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like we've summed it all up. Like, and this is, I think the three of us are a pretty good representation of how a lot of people feel about this game. Like, there's varying views on where Star Citizen's at right now. I try to stay optimistic, but there's definitely times where that is not happening at all. And I think Sylvius does as well. I think between the two of us, I'm usually the one to get burned out on Star Citizen first. And then there's players like yourself that haven't even really had the urge to play because of the state that it was in when you were playing and the state that it's still in now.
Nothing's changed. I know if I were to hop in the game, nothing has changed. Oh, there's a fancy new ship. Oh, you can fucking mine a ship now.
Yeah. Well, so
nothing's changed though.
So some of the bugs that were around when you were playing have probably been squashed, but the issue is now there's just new ones to run into. And then there's also just the general server performance. We're still getting 30Ks. There have been some patches where they were extremely rare.
Yeah.
But most recently, like the last few sessions that we try to play on this current build, hitting 30Ks still in 2024.
Yeah, it's been, especially the past few weeks, it's been pretty bad, I think.
Yeah.
But 30K recovery, guys.
Hey, this year, baby.
Wait, I thought it's not a thing. I thought it was already a thing.
Now they're testing it. Yeah. Replication layer testing supposed to be happening this week or next on the preview channel. But just the state of the game right now, both of us, well, all three of us used to stream it a little bit with varying degrees of success. And these days it's more fun to talk about than it is to play it.
That's the thing with the game is it's pretty much all just like you talk, like a lot of the content is talking about the game. A lot, not all, but a lot of the bigger creators, their entire content is essentially, talking about the game. And
it's theory crafting.
That's
the speculation.
Yeah, I don't enjoy it. I mean, I enjoy it to some degree, but when it's literally the only like type of content you get out of the game, that's when I check out personally. Because it's just, you never know if any of this shit's going to happen. And you watch some of these like really diehard fans talk about the game like, oh, well, when insurance is implemented or when I can fucking hire a lawyer to sue your ass. And it's like, dude, what the hell are you talking about? Like, this is stuff that, some of the stuff they talk about that's like never been even discussed and they automatically assume it's going to be in the game.
Do you remember one of the stretch goals was that if you had some sort of dispute with a player, that CIG was going to have a staff member that would arbitrate your dispute with the player. A live representative is going to be there for whatever problem you're having with your org or a business contract or whatever the fuck. Like, that's one of the stretch goals.
That's actually crazy. I never knew that.
Yeah, it was like a whole like guild within the game dedicated to that or something. Yeah, that was a weird stretch goal. I had never read that one before.
Yeah. Like, I do think we'll eventually get some sort of full release Star Citizen 1.0. A lot of the shit that they've talked about us getting, it's not happening. And I would love to be proven wrong. I really would be.
Me too.
But I don't think it's going to happen.
See, the pessimist in me says that they just get their money by like, roping in new suckers. That's the pessimist in me. I'll admit, I'll be transparent, but I don't like to think like that,
Right.
Kind of like the cheater situation in video games. People are like, oh my God, there's cheaters in this game. It's a new game. It's like cheaters are in every game, every single game. You're never going to get rid of them. You're never going to eliminate them. They're always going to exist. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, it's a psychological problem. People who think they can cheat in a video game and get away with it, there's something wrong. But that's another conversation for another time.
Yeah.
Point being is that actually I forgot the point I was making.
Let's let him cook.
What were we talking about before I said that?
Some game called Star Citizen.
Thanks, Brian. Anyway,
yeah.
All that to say, that's not how I truly believe that that's how they get their money, by roping in new suckers. But that's just the there's an angel and a devil on your shoulder. That's what the little devil says.
Yeah.
I do want to be proven wrong, just like you, Stub. I want to eat my words. I want to sit here and listen to all the CIG loyalists. Like, see, we told you it's going to be a real game. Like, I'll eat their shit all day. I don't care. But we got to get to that point. So,
yeah. All of us here want it to be a success, and there's people out there that don't want it to be.
Who wouldn't want it to be? I mean, like, the haters, obviously, but
yeah, which I
no one should
understand,
yuck anybody's yum. I'm never a yum yucker. If you're a yum yucker, then we can't be friends. Let people like what they want to like. It's okay to have opinions on it, but like, I want to attack people for liking what they like.
For sure.
Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Well, thanks for coming to our podcast. It's been a good conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, dude. I feel bad. I ramble a lot, and my thought process is probably borked from all the drugs I've done. But I like talking, and I like hanging out with the boys. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, fun conversation. Again, thanks for being on the show. And if you don't mind, one more time, just remind people where they can catch you streaming, your socials, all that good stuff.
Pornhub.com. I know. Twitch.tv/SeanVonGone. We stream on Twitch. We usually stream throughout the week, but we've been having internet problems lately, so just trying to get things figured out. But toss a follow, and you'll see the channel go live eventually. I promise.
It's fucking ISPs. Doesn't matter what side of the country you're on. There's bullshit companies everywhere.
Yeah, we're figuring out how to put people on Mars, but we can't figure out residential internet. But
yeah. We'll get there one day. What happens first? Rock solid internet or Star Citizen? Stay tuned to find out.
Yeah, stay tuned to find out. Stay alive.
All right. Thanks again, Sean. And thank you, watcher, viewer, listener, for checking out the CommLink Podcast once again. We are at CommLink Pod on both Twitter/X and Instagram. And we are also still doing that Cutter giveaway with LTI. The Cutter Rambler giveaway is happening over on our Twitter page, so make sure to check that out at CommLink Pod if you're interested in participating in that. I think that's it for this week's show, everybody.
Yeah, don't forget to like, subscribe, check out our other videos, the CommLink alerts for Star Citizen news. Should be starting those back up hopefully next week if they give us some news. CIG, please.
Please. Anything.
Yeah, thanks again, everybody, for watching. Thank you, Sean, for being here.
Of course. Thanks for having me, boys.
Absolutely.
All right, everybody. Be safe, be well. And Chris Roberts, don't let us down.
We'll see you next time, Chris.